Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 373 of the All Dolphins podcast on this Wednesday, not Tuesday, Wednesday. Inside joke. September, what's today's date? No,
October
October
2nd.
2nd. I'm completely messed up. I got the days of the week right, but I can't get the month right. Woo, somebody's a mess here. Anyway, October 2nd, 2024. Dolphins back at practice on Wednesday. A lot of news, some of it good, some of it very, very disappointing. And Chris Perkins is back joining me to talk about the events of the day. And I guess we have to start with the very disappointing news involving Jaylen Phillips, who announced on Instagram that he would have to undergo season ending knee surgery as a result of the injury he sustained Monday night in the 31-12 loss against Tennessee. I mean, that's a bummer.
It is one of the nicest guys on the team, one of the nicest guys in the NFL. He was the Dolphins nominee for Walter Payton Man of the Year award. He serves on the board of the Dolphins Cancer Challenge. Just an all-around good guy. It breaks your heart that this happens to him. He had worked so hard to get back from that Achilles injury he sustained on Black Friday, November 24th, I believe it was. But yeah, he got back almost a little bit ahead of schedule, and he was actually having a good year, very effective. He was rounding himself into shape. Some of that speed, some of that explosion would surface every now and then, and he takes that hit from Jordan Poyer, friendly fire. It's the same thing we saw happen to Rashee Rice. Patrick Mahomes, friendly fire. Same thing we saw happen to Jerome Baker last year. Brandon Jones, friendly fire. This stuff happens, but it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. And that's with all due respect to Jerome Baker, who was also a nice guy last year. But
Right.
Your heart just breaks for Jaylen Phillips.
Yeah, I had somebody on Twitter mention to me he seemed like a good kid, and I'm almost like, no, he's not a good kid. He's a great kid. I mean, he's a really, really gem of a dude, and it completely sucks. Mike McDaniel explained today that, as you just mentioned, it happened when he collided with Jordan Poyer on the same play. Jordan Poyer also was injured, just sustained a shin injury. Phillips went out of the game, tried to come back with he had a brace around his right knee, and then at that point something was off. You saw the play where he was kind of rushing the passer, and then all of a sudden he pulled up and was holding his knee and then left. And Mike McDaniel described it as a partial tear, but which normally would sound better than a full tear, except unfortunately it still requires season-ending knee surgery. So again, this is back-to-back years for the guy, season-ending prematurely. So very disappointing for him, and it goes along with this black cloud that's over this team right now. Dolphins at 1-3. Did a story today, by the way. Check it out on Miami Dolphins on SI, MiamiDolphinsOnSI.com, about the Dolphins' 1-3 starts in franchise history and what the trend has been as far as whether they've been able to overcome it. And good news, Dolphin fans, check it out. It's actually encouraging in that sense. Sorry?
Good story. Good story. I saw it. I had actually mentioned on my podcast that at 1-3, I think that's when, and I was right, when the Dolphins went on the big run in 2016, they discovered Jay Ajayi can run the ball. But I think that's also the record when Joe Philbin got fired from after the London game. So those two polar extremes right there. But good story, good thought on your part, as usual.
Thank you. Okay, you'll be invited back to appear as a guest. You checked the mark, checked off the box. Actually, in 2016, unless I'm severely mistaken, the Dolphins actually fell to 1-4 before they turned it around, and then that 1-4 loss was against Tennessee, that same team again, and then came Black Monday when Jameer Douglas, Dallas Thomas, and Billy Turner all were waived. Three offensive linemen, basically 3 of the 9 offensive linemen on the roster were like, see ya. And then they went on their run. So from moving aside from the personal aspect of it, all injuries suck, period. The more practical terms for the Dolphins, this is not a position where they're like loaded with depth right now because of the injuries. Bradley Chubb remains on PUP. Cameron Good, who has shown promise. I don't know that anybody would expect him to be an impact player, but he has shown promise. He's also in PUP, which leaves the Dolphins right now with Chop Robinson, rookie first-round pick, Quentin Bell, the training camp sensation, who has seen reality kind of set in after that great start to training camp. Mohamed Kamara, who was inactive for the first 4 games of the regular season. And then Emmanuel Ogbah, who was released in the offseason and re-signed after Shaquille Barrett abruptly retired. And thank goodness for Emmanuel Ogbah, who's playing really, really well, because he has bailed out the Dolphins, a position that was thin and now has gotten even thinner.
Yeah, the Dolphins have to figure out a way to take advantage of that edge rusher position to, one, set the edge on the run. They've given up 100 yards in 4 straight games, 100 yards rushing to the opponent. And then number 2, to actually get the sack. We've seen these edge rushers close a bunch of times, but, you know, at 1 and 3, you need to actually bring the quarterback down, maybe even get a strip sack. They need some big plays. Hopefully they can get it from the edge rusher position. But, you know, the production has been so-so to this point. They probably need excellent production, and that's going to be tough with Chubb and Phillips out. And
there's one guy, I hate to do this to him, but sorry, the spotlight is on him, and I mean big, and that's Chop Robinson.
Yes.
Dolphins drafted him 21st overall, where ideally they could bring him along slowly and let him develop and all that, but also as insurance in case something happened. And guess what? Something has happened. And young man, now's the time for you to step up and display and flash all of that athletic ability that we know he has. However, this is where the Dolphins may suffer. And you mentioned the run defense, because that's not Chop's forte. And there was the long run by Tony Pollard on Monday night. The edge defender who was sealed off was Chop Robinson.
Yep.
I mean, he maintained the edge, but he was wiped out of the play. And you mentioned the run defense, and for me, and this is going to be weird, and I don't want to sound like Tom Olivadotti, who, if you take away the 350-yard runs, well, the run defense wasn't so bad. But to me, it's just been too long. Against Seattle, the run defense was really, really good until the last drive by Seattle, where Zach Charbonnet gained like 42 of his 90 yards or whatever it was.
Yep.
And against Buffalo, it was the James Cook long run, and that's it. And against Tennessee on Monday night, it was the Tony Pollard long run, and that's it.
Yep.
So,
again, exactly right. Yeah, and look, I mean, you don't want to go too far with this, but the pass defense, Jacksonville, that 4th and 3 touchdown, if David Long doesn't get his feet tied up with, I think it was Jordan Fuller, you've got a chance to stop that before. They would have got a first down, but not a touchdown.
Here you go again. What is it with Jordan Fuller?
Oh, gosh. Who is Jordan Fuller? Kendall Fuller. I don't know. I've got to Google Jordan Fuller. I don't know who Jordan Fuller is and why I keep saying that.
Is that your real name? Is that your real name, and Chris Perkins is your professional name?
Exactly. But look, it has been, you know, and then you have that big play where Brian Thomas, where Trevor Lawrence finds Brian Thomas in the back of the end zone.
That was a sick pass, though. I mean, it was just a
sick that was, but I'm just saying it's just kind of one play. The DK Metcalf had 2 of those that play. So the defense, to your point, they've given up that play, and you can't subtract that play. But they've been okay. They've been okay. They've had some mind farts, but they've been okay overall.
Yeah, and the 22-yard reception by DK Metcalf, I mean, you're going to give up a 22-yard gain. I mean, that happens. The one over the top obviously was bad. And this is that one and the 2 long runs. But that's in the 3 losses. So it's certainly not been on the defense. They did take care of some more bookkeeping here. The injury report has come out, the first one of the week. We should emphasize this was an estimation because the Dolphins conducted a walkthrough Wednesday, did not have a practice. So it's basically this would have been their status had there been a regular practice. And I will put on my old man glasses here to look at my other screen to see. So the 2 players who were listed as DNP are the 2 involved in that who were injured Monday night. That's Jaylen Phillips, who will go on IR Thursday, one would think. And then you have Jordan Poyer with the shin injury. A whole bunch of players listed that would have been limited, including the 2 guys with the concussions, Teron Armstead and Kendall Fuller, along with David Long Jr., who missed the game against Tennessee, Raheem Mostert, who hasn't played the past 3 games, Skylar Thompson, who's still dealing with a rib injury, Malik Washington, who made his NFL debut and had his first NFL catch on Monday with a quad injury, Jeff Wilson Jr., who had a knee injury in pregame warmups Monday night, still played, but he only had 2 offensive snaps with a knee injury. And then two new ones, Braxton Berrios with an ankle injury, and then Duke Riley with a hamstring injury. So it's quite the long list. Tomorrow will provide a better picture. Oh, and we should mention the 2 other guys on the list, were listed as full. Cam Smith, who remains on IR, but has returned to practice. He was designated to return, and Odell Beckham Jr., who was on PUP. I thought I remembered his injury already having come out as being a knee injury because I saw some of the fellow beat writers put that. I could have sworn we already knew it was a knee. But anyway, if you guys didn't know, it's a knee injury that he had. Mike McDaniel said he's not ready to say he's definitely going to play Sunday because he hasn't had a full practice yet, but certainly would seem a very strong possibility, no?
Yep. For what it's worth, we've seen OBJ and Isaiah Wynn in the locker room a little bit more lately, including both of them being in there today. Don't know what that means for Isaiah Wynn, but we know that OBJ's return seems imminent. So I'm thinking maybe it's a good sign for Isaiah Wynn, but we don't know.
Okay, and quickly on the New England side, because yes, even though they're 1-3 and they're a really bad team, which we knew all along, unlike the Dolphins, which is kind of a surprise in a disappointing way. Right now we're at a point where the Dolphins can take him for granted, or Dolphin fans can assume that it's a win. So it's important to keep up on their injuries. They have 2 very significant ones for me. Number 1 is Dave Andrews, their center, who's somebody made the point he's their best offensive player. This is a 9-year veteran who's never made the Pro Bowl, and he's a center. He's their best offensive player, which kind of sort of gives you an idea. He is going to undergo season-ending shoulder surgery, so a bad offensive line is going to get even worse. The Patriots, per Pro Football Reference, allow the highest percentage of pressure per drop back in the NFL at 39%, and now they lose their best offensive line. And then the other guy is Kyle Duggar, who's a safety. I believe he has a hamstring injury. He's a really good player. Also did not practice. So those are the 2 guys who would stand out as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, the Dolphins, we'll see if they're able to take advantage. I haven't gone back to watch the game yet. Benito Jones supposedly was really, really bad against the run. So with Andrews being out, maybe that provides a little bit of hope and a little bit of a break there. But that's really reaching for straws, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what New England has done. And here's the thing with New England: when they've had success on offense and it hasn't been great, they have the 32nd ranked offense in total yards and a 32nd ranked passing offense, and there are 32 teams in the NFL, which means they're dead last. They had success on the ground in their first 2 games against Cincinnati and against Seattle. The last 2 games, not so much against the Jets and against the 49ers, who are good run defense teams. So if they're going to have success moving the ball against the Dolphins, probably not going to be Jacoby Brissett chucking it all over the place. And yes, he continues to start. But even then, if they have success, they have a problem with Ramondre Stevenson, their running back, who keeps fumbling the ball. He's lost 4 fumbles. Sorry, he's had 4 fumbles, lost 3. And then him and Jacoby Brissett, who's lost, no, I keep doing it again, who has had 3 fumbles. Their combined 7 fumbles is the most of any teammates in the NFL. So that's been a problem for them. There's even talk that they might, Gerard Mayo on Wednesday suggested that maybe it's going to be Antonio Gibson as a starting running back against the Dolphins on Sunday. I would imagine that both guys would see a lot of touches.
Yeah. And look, when we talk about things that the Dolphins can take advantage of, hopefully that's one of them. The Dolphins have been decent when it comes to producing turnovers, right? Emmanuel Ogbah, Zach Sealer, Kader Kohu. So those fumbles, maybe the Dolphins can turn them into turnovers and points, touchdowns, really, not just points, touchdowns.
Yeah, and I can tell you, like the people in New England are like, kind of their quarterback situation is not ideal. It's not much more ideal than what's going on with the Dolphins right now. And it's basically like they don't want to put Drake May in, their third overall pick in the 2024 draft, because they're worried about him getting killed behind that offensive line. And then possibly also, that's not come out, that's me spitballing, but getting shell-shocked and having the David Carr effect.
Right.
If you recall him when he was a rookie with the Houston Texans in 2002, was sacked 128 times. Exaggerated. It was like,
yeah,
it was a record number of times, and the dude was like frazzled in the pocket the rest of his career. And I think part of it is they don't want to throw Drake May in there until the situation around them is a little bit more palatable, and who knows when that's going to be. And the flip side to that is, why wouldn't you throw him in there in the first place? Just get him some experience under adverse conditions, because as Mike McDaniel told us all summer with Skylar Thompson and Mike White, you should want to see your quarterback under adverse situations. No?
Yes. And look, I'll throw in a word about the Dolphins rookies. We do a report card every week from the game, and I do a stock up, stock down. I gave the stock up to Storm Duck and Patrick Paul, a couple of rookies. We'll see what Malik Washington can do. Chop Robinson and Mo Kamara are going to get enhanced chances because Jaylen Phillips is out. So this rookie class could get a deeper immersion, a deeper early season immersion than we thought. But I did think that Storm Duck, who was undrafted, and Patrick Paul, the second-round pick, did okay. And I base a lot of that on we didn't call their name out for negative things. Now, of course, Tennessee had 40 carries, and I think Ridley had 3 receptions, right? And nobody had more than 3, none of their big guys. I think Tyler Boyd might have had 3, or maybe Ridley had 2. But anyway, I think it was 3-3-2. Yeah. So Storm really wasn't tested, but he wasn't burned either. So I'm taking those as good things from Storm Duck and Patrick Paul. Maybe Chop Robinson steps up and it turns out to be a productive rookie season for the rookie class.
Yeah, and fair or not, like I said before, fair or not, Chop Robinson needs to step up. If Chop Robinson doesn't become an impact player now that the Dolphins really need him, it's not great. Okay, let's move on, and we're going to wrap it up. This could take a while. So when I say wrap it up, it's going to be a very lot of wrapping. Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
Because, of course, Tyreek, first of all, and it starts off with this. I mean, there's so many things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to start off with the tweet where it's something along the lines of, just woke up this morning and excited about trade talk or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I very quickly I put on Twitter as a reply, folks, this is a guy whose Twitter handle is basically, I like to start crap and leave.
Yep.
He has told he's a professional troll.
Yep.
And then, of course, the speculator, whoa, is Tyreek going to get traded? The Chiefs are have injuries up the wazoo on offense, and there's speculation maybe they'll bring Tyreek back. And, of course, it gets going. And then he's asked about the speculation where he repeats he's very happy in Miami. And by the way, Tyreek, I absolutely can believe Tyreek's happy in Miami. Do you think Tyreek, if the money is the same, really would object to being traded back to the Chiefs? I mean, listen to every time he talks about the Chiefs. It's a guy part of him and he actually has said that in interviews. I'm not like breaking ground or speculating here. He has said how much he liked this time in KC. Those are his boys and all that. So let's your thoughts on this particular part of the deal.
I don't put a lot of trust in what Tyreek says on matters like this. So I don't. The Dolphins aren't going to trade him. And I don't think the Chiefs want to take that headache, both in salary and off the field issues. So they've won 2 Super Bowls without him. I think the Chiefs are probably fine.
Correct. And it may have been that he was talking about, this in trade with the Devontae Adams speculation, and no, the Dolphins are not trading for him. But this is big news around the NFL. Talk that he may be available for trade. And by the way, when you hear a team is open to listening to offers for a player, is there a team that would, other than the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, is there any team who would say, don't even bring up the idea. I don't care what you're offering. No, I'm not trading him. sorry, I think at the very least every team would be like, not interested in trading him, but sure,
Right.
go ahead, tell me what you're willing to offer.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So when you hear the Raiders are open to trading Devontae Adams, sure, if a team throws them 2 first round picks,
Right.
they'd be interested. So having said all that, so that could have been what he was talking about. And again, as we mentioned, Tyreek is the ultimate troll, and he took great pleasure in it. He came up with and another tweet after the fact, basically making fun of people who fall for his stuff.
Yeah, like I love trolling you nut jobs or nut
There you
juices,
go,
something like
exactly.
that. Yeah. So let's talk about that loose ball, the lateral.
And I'm glad that's a good segue for it, because it's like, Tyreek, you really need to be like putting out like
Right.
comments like that 2 days after you had that ridiculous play. Also, after you're caught on the sidelines late in the game, and I'd have to check the exact time frame, because Tyreek wants to portray it as, "Come on, 15, we need more from you," as being motivating his teammates. Unless I'm mistaken, the game was already pretty much decided when he was doing that, and if anybody was to suggest that it was more venting than it was motivating his teammates, I don't think they'd be out of line.
He was venting. He wasn't. He told us today in the locker room. I was saying, "Come on, 2-5," as in Jaylen Wright, the rookie running back. That's his jersey, number 25. Come on, 2-5. We need more of that. David Furones, which was total BS anyway. David Furones said he looked it up, and like Jaylen Wright had recently had like a 2-yard loss, and but like a few plays earlier, Jaylen Wright had a good play, but Tyreek was not telling the truth there. He was venting. And we don't know what he was saying. We don't know if it was within earshot of Mike McDaniel, who was in the foreground, or wide receivers coach Wes Welker, who was in the background. But Tyreek clearly at that stage was not happy. That was not long after Snoop Huntley had missed him on that deep ball, and the ball is rolling around in the end zone, and Tyreek kicks at it like he wants to kick it into the stands. I'm not saying that this is anything long lasting. It looked like Tyreek is over it. But you combine that reaction with the fact that Tyreek left after the game without speaking to reporters, leaving Jalen Waddle and others to answer questions about the team's mindset and why Tyreek let that ball just go and didn't chase after it aggressively. I don't like that. I have no respect for that.
And a team captain on top of that.
And a team captain on top of that. I asked Mike McDaniel today in the press conference, what are repercussions for when Tyreek does that, or the penalties by Julian Hill, the penalties by Anthony Walker. Mike McDaniel said for turnovers, I don't know. He said they show it during a team meeting and that Tyreek was very like remorseful or something like that. But you can't let that ball go after he had a drop earlier this year. You've got to be more aggressive, and the team has got to be more aggressive on Tyreek. I'm not saying that McDaniel needs to take him to task publicly. You can leave that stuff behind closed doors, but I just wonder what is the punitive action for things like that, because they continue to happen, especially this year.
Yeah, but what could it be? I mean, it's again, you guarantee this next 3 years.
Yeah.
Right before the start of the regular season, what exactly could be done is you're not going to take away his playing time, because then you're hurting the team. So it's just a really bad look, again, to be out on social media trolling folks and finding amusement in trolling folks with what you comment at a time when you're not, the whole team is not playing well at all. You're not playing well at all. I mean, this guy has got 80 yards in his last 3 games combined. Mm-hmm. I would think it'd be like, if I was a teammate of his, I'd be like, dude, lay off social media, and once you get your head like in the playbook or whatever you need to do. I mean, seriously, it's a really bad look.
It is. And you know what, Poop, I'm glad you said that, because in my column today, I wrote that, I talked to Dolphins players off the record. Mike McDaniel has not lost the locker room, but I have a passage in there about Tyreek. And I say, I do think that this is another time that someone needs to pull Tyreek aside and talk to him and make sure he's pointed in the right direction and that he's focused because, that little rant, that little temper tantrum. And I also asked Tyreek today, have you talked to Mike McDaniel in a nice way and told him you need the ball more? And Tyreek said, no, I don't do that because once you do, he's got enough pressure on him, blah, blah, blah. But, this maybe he's telling the truth here. I wouldn't be mad at Tyreek if he did go to Mike McDaniel in a mature way and say, let's come up with different ways to get me the ball. But I do think somebody needs to kind of check on Tyreek and make sure that mentally he's okay. He says that he is. That's not what I saw during the game and on the sideline. My guess is frustration is building with Tyreek, that either you get this guy the ball and hope that he has a good game, or you need to keep talking to him and making sure that you release steam regularly so that the lid doesn't just blow one day.
Yeah, I mean, damn. And of course, and it's troublesome. And the thing, we haven't seen that before with Tyreek in Miami because everything's gone so well for the most part. The only thing that slowed him down the last 3 years has been those ankle injuries late in the season. And right now, this is a legitimate time of adversity, not only for him and for the team. And Jaylen Phillips, in his Instagram post, talked about, the measure of a guy is how he deals with adversity. And this is the time we're going to find out about everybody on this roster. And the other part of it is who on offense. To me, there's one guy on offense who jumps out as somebody who could give Tyreek the speech that maybe he needs to hear, and that's Teron Armstead.
Yep.
I don't know who else on this offense. Calais Campbell's another one I think could do it, but he plays defense, so it's not quite as effective. But other than Teron, I don't see anybody else.
No, I mean,
and the personality to do it.
Right. I think defensively, Jalen Ramsey and Calais Campbell could do it. But, offensively, it's a very, very small group. I don't even think Tua could do it. I think it's a very small group of people that Tyreek would listen to. I don't think Jalen Waddle could do it. Very small group of people. I think it's those three. And hopefully somebody is checking in on Tyreek and keeping him pointed in the right direction because – again, yes, he is a team captain. He is a team leader, and you need to make sure that everything is good with Tyreek. Look, I don't know that Tyreek would make any demands like get me the ball, but it would be interesting if he did, right? Because the last time that Tyreek put something out there, he spoke it into existence, right? I need to be paid in the top 10 receivers, and bam, he was. So, keep an eye. Hopefully, they're keeping Tyreek in check.
But in his defense, in this particular situation, if he asks for the ball too vociferously, then he's going to come off as selfish. I care about.
Oh, yes.
I care about my numbers and all that. But by the same token, it's very clear that the Dolphins are better if Tyreek's producing at a higher level. So it's tricky. Right. But the part is, you're a team captain. That means after a game, when the team plays like crap like it did Monday night, this is where you need to stand up. And you're part of being a captain is you're kind of speaking for the team for a lot of your teammates who are not captains. And this is why him bailing out was not necessarily a good look. And then to follow it up with the social media stuff, I think he could do better than that.
Yeah, and basically you're leaving others in the locker room to clean up your mess. Calais Campbell, not a team captain, or he is a team captain, hasn't been there long. He's in there speaking for a team that he's been with for 4 months?
Yep.
And Tyreek has been there for 2+ years, and he bolts. That's not a good look.
We weren't lying when we said there's going to be a long wrap up when we got to our final topic, Tyreek. But so hopefully we covered all the major news of the day. By the way, and probably don't care about. Oh, we should mention. I'm dancing all over the place here. Running back Savon Ahmed, formerly of the Dolphins, now signed to the Denver Broncos practice squad, and this involves the Dolphins. Probably not necessarily going to be something that's going to make Dolphin fans woo. But the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. And not surprising, was Nick Folk of the Tennessee Titans, who kicked 5 field goals, including 3 from 50 yards out. Not a shocker there. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up. And by the way, Chris referenced a couple of his articles a couple of times. Didn't even mention where to find them, Chris. sunsentinel.com, and then check out his weekly podcast, The Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. As always, Perk, thank you very much. Everyone, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will be back Thursday with the ever popular Behind Enemy Lines. In the meantime, thanks, everyone.